Hello class. In this video we're going to keep working on this assignment. In this case we're going to do the brickwork across this element and this one here. And it's going to be done very similar to the way we did the siding. The difference is it's going to be a bit more complex because there's horizontal and vertical images in the same image, and actually we have some of the brick going towards a vanishing point in this direction, which is going to be this face and this face, and some going to a vanishing point in that direction, which is going to be this face and this face. So we have to break this all apart and do all these steps. And don't be afraid of that. Being willing to break the object into as many pieces as you need it is a really great tool, understanding perspective, to make this work. Just like the siding, though, we're going to have to start by finding an image. So I'm going to go back to Google Images. Here we've got siding, seamless texture. I'm just going to call it brick. Again, you don't really have to worry about color of your brick at this point in time. I like to do like a gray or a black brick. This image isn't very good. So I might just pick one of these that I like. Again, generally recommended if it says seamless. Hopefully that'll work better for us. This one does, but it looks a little rough. It probably will be okay. It looks a little rough. That looks a little fake. Take some time to search. It's no problem. I don't want to take too much time because you're just watching the video, but if it's yourself, don't be afraid of going through several to find something that you really like. Again, other than color. I do like this one. And I'm just looking. I think it will be. It doesn't say seamless, but I think it might actually be seamless here, just looking at it. So I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. I'm going to right click, save image, and it's a JPEG, so it should work. Call it brick. And I'm going to come to Photoshop and go File, Open, and open that brick. Okay. Got to open it. There we go. Okay, here it is. I'm going to do Control A to select it all. I'm going to create this pattern slightly differently because I tested it and the brick came out really large. It was good and seamless, but it came out large. So I'm going to show you how to scale it before we make our pattern here. Which might take a couple steps. So I'm going to copy it first. I have it all selected. Control A, then Control C for copy. I'm going to come into my image. I have a new layer and I'm going to paste it in and see how big the brick is. So I'm just going to do Control T to scale it down to make it approximately the size of the brick that's going to be on this face, which is going to be pretty small, something like this. Now I'm going to do Control click on the brick here to select the brick. I'm going to come up to edit. And if you can define pattern, go ahead and do that. Oftentimes in this stage you can't, so I'm just going to copy it. I know it seems a little strange, but I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go new. It's going to know what I just copied, so I can hit create, and I'm going to paste this down. And now I can go edit. I'm going to go select all, edit, define pattern. Say OK. Come back to my image, and I can delete that bit of brick. And I can do select, deselect, and I can make a marquee tool just around that face that I'm working with just this face here. This side of the brick is in a different perspective. So now I'll go edit fill. And I will select that brick. And I get the brick as I need it. Just like the siding, I have to get this in perspective. So go edit, transform, perspective, and I will sort of shrink it like this, and then I'll the top, and I'll move the center point. So again, the thing at the cyan line down here, those brick have to be pretty horizontal, right? So when I get them pretty horizontal and the scaling looks pretty right, they look pretty good. I think I've actually shrunk it too much. I'm going to lift it up a little bit. Well, every time I do the top, I have to redo the center line to get the horizon right. And I can click. I said, I like that. That looks good. And I'll deselect. Now, if you happen to have some extra brick at the top or bottom, you can either scale slightly, or you might just have to move this up or down to get it in the right location. So you're going to have your brick there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. It's hard to see the line of the house through this. You can barely see it here. Can you see it? But I need to do that same thing. You can actually see now that I can see it, my perspective is slightly off. I pulled it up just ever so slightly. And you can fix it. Otherwise, it might not even be noticeable. But I'm going to select this face of the brick. I'm going to use the polygon marquee, starting at whatever corner. I'm going to come down the face, and it's going to come all the way down to the ground. It's going to come over. It's going to go around the steps because the bricks, although you're probably going to paint the steps in the later file, so it probably doesn't matter much, but we'll go around there. We'll come up the face, and actually, yep, let's see, does this face intersect? Yeah, we don't need to worry about this roof. There's the roof. It was hard to see. I see the roof there. We don't need to worry about it because we'll cover that up in a later step. So I'll go actually all the way up to the top, select here, and I have to go select inverse again because I selected what I want, but I want to get rid of the opposite. So I inverse the selection and hit delete. We can see I got brick along that face. Okay, so now this face of the brick, which is smaller, is going to be close to the same perspective because it's along the same face. It's going to be slightly different, but I think we might be okay. So if I just right click over brick and say duplicate the layer, I'll get a second copy of it on top of it. But if I went to my move tool and move it over, I can move it over top of this, and we can see I can find the horizon line of getting it pretty close to horizontal, which is about there. And I can do the same thing. I can select this face, and I've pretty much made that brick already. Okay, so I'm going to select this face, zoom in. It's hard to see these lines. I think it's about there. Again, I don't have to worry too much about that roof because I will cover over it in another phase. Same with this floor, but if I want to select around the floor, I can do that too. It's not that much of an issue. Come up all the way around. Okay, I selected what I want, so I want to go select inverse and delete the rest. All right, and so there I got that face. The perspective is a little off at the top. I probably could have used my perspective transform tool there to fix it, but I think in the end we won't notice too much. If you notice that and you're getting graded, you might want to change it. What we're going to have to do now is do the other perspective, which is going this way, and we will have to do that from the beginning. So we're going to have to do these steps all over again. It's just the way to do it. So I'm going to make a new layer, call it like brick 2, just talk about the other faces. And I'm going to draw a marquee tool on this side. I'm going to fill it with the same brick, edit, fill, pattern, okay. And I'm going to go edit, transform, perspective, and it's going to come down. This way, the horizontal lines at this line is going to be the same. Right? So you want to match that up. And I can zoom in. If I were to do it better, what I want to do is I also want to make sure the brick line here is sort of parallel. You can barely see it, but the chimney there. So I need to actually raise. I did too much. I want to come up a little bit. You'll notice when I come up, it's going to throw it off down here. So if I come down here, make this horizontal matching it, but it's going to throw it off a little bit here. But every time I do this back and forth, it's going to get closer and closer to being correct. And eventually you just say, you know what, I am close enough at this point in time. So like there is probably pretty close. I'm going to say that's good enough. I'm going to press enter or double click. I've got the bricks going in the other direction. Now I do the same thing. I select the parts I want to keep first, which is there's the line. Hard to see, but that's from my original drawing. Pan all the way down. I don't have to worry about steps or roofs or anything, but I only need to go that far. But I do have to worry about siding. So this area here is siding. This is brick. So I want to keep that here. I don't need to worry about the roof right yet, but it can come up to the roof, come over because we see this is part of the wall, come up to the corner, close it off. It's what I want, so I have to inverse it, select inverse and hit delete. And I have brick going in the opposite direction there. And I think because this is such an awkward shape, I'm just going to have to repeat the step again for this area over here. Now in this case, I could keep it on the same layer, or I can make a new layer, call it brick 3, rectangle tool, edit fill, brick, edit, transform, perspective. Zooming in, I want to follow this line right here at the top of my image. That's pretty close for now. Come down here, make sure The horizontals is matching the cyan guideline, which is going to be down further. See how it affected the top of my image? It's got to pull up now. Come back down here. See how it's affected my horizontal line right there. That looks good, and that looks pretty good, so I can double click to end it. I need to move mine up just a bit to make sure it fits. I'm going to go select, deselect, and then go back to my polygon lasso tool. Once again, select this face by clicking on all the points around it. Since that's what I want to keep, I have to invert it. Select inverse and hit delete. And we can see I've got brick now on all my sides. Now what I said is I wanted like a gray or a black brick, not a red brick, and I can change that now. So we can see, I want to change the color, but we can see I've got a bunch of layers. And I could keep them all the same, but I would have to change the colors independently. In this case, I should have probably started with changing the color, but I didn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to collapse all these layers together. I'm going to click on the brick 3. I'm going to hold shift and hit brick. They're all selected. You can see they're light gray. I'm going to right click and say merge layers. Now they're just on one layer. That's going to allow me to come up to image adjustments and go to hue saturation. I'm going to take the saturation completely off to make them gray and take the lightness down to make it darker. Not too dark because we want to see some of the texture, but something like that. When I do that, now I've got the sort of black brick look, and you've done the brick, which is probably one of the hardest things to do about this assignment. So good job. And we'll move on